some questions that people have about being or becoming vegan. These questions were gathered by friends and also some students that I had. I don't have comments to go by because this is one of my first videos, so in the future I will be asking people to kind of join in whatever questions they may have. So thank you to those friends and to those students who offered up these questions so that I could get my channel started. Okay, so let's get started. The first question is probably the most common, and I will read it exactly as it has been presented to me. How the f do you give up cheese? Well, I'm not surprised by this question. It's often a deal breaker for many vegetarians who actually won't become vegan because they can't give up that cheese. So I can really only give you my personal two reasons. The first is that for me, it's easy for me because I'm lactose intolerant, like pretty much just about 80% of the human population. But cheese, dairy, any of that really disturbs my shit. And when I say it disturbs my shit, I mean it disturbs my shit. So for me, it was in my best interest to not have the dairy in the first place. And giving up cheese was not an easy thing for me to do. It's part of my culture. Italian foods often contain many different types of yummy cheeses. So I really had to kind of sort of, if I wanted to make something Italian, learn the workarounds and how to kind of get those type of flavors that are similar, but honestly not quite cheese. Another reason is that many cheese alternatives have come a long way. Back when I first went vegan years ago, one of the things I could not handle was the fake cheeses. Those cheeses were like plastic. They did not melt well, they kind of tasted like plastic. There's some cheeses that are still out today. Don't get me wrong, I love Daiya cheese back in the day. However, Daiya cheese has a very distinct taste, for example, that is obviously not cheese. Nowadays, there are new cheeses coming out all the time, and each one seems to be better than the last. Personally, my favorite right now is Violife and also the Miyokos. Okay, I should probably learn the name of that cheese before I did this video. So even though these cheeses do not taste exactly like cheese, they're getting pretty close to nailing it. Next question. If you're no longer eating meat, do you need to supplement your meals with particular food items, vitamins? What should you take? So for me, I make sure I get plenty of B12. That is in my multivitamin. I also get B12 from foods such as nutritional yeast. B12 is also fortified in many of the different non-dairy milks. In addition to B12, I also make sure my multivitamin contains iodine. Iodine is not in every multivitamin, it's not in every salt, so I make sure that that is included as well. As far as other supplements go, everyone should be taking a vitamin D supplement. I get mine personally from an algae supplement that does very well. Something I recommend that anyone who's vegan or vegetarian pay attention to is their amino acid profile, meaning you're getting all of them. Some plant-based eaters will argue that as long as you're eating enough calories, you will get all the protein that you need in a day just from all those amino acids coming together. Personally, I like to work out, I go to the gym. I think that might actually work if you're someone who doesn't do any real strenuous physical activity, because your body probably doesn't need to build much protein. But if you're working out or if you're lifting weights, then obviously you want to make sure you're meeting all of those protein needs. So what I use is this app called Chronometer, or is it Chronometer? Chronometer. We're gonna go with Chronometer. And what I love about Chronometer is you can plug in any food and it will give you a breakdown of your macros, the different vitamins and minerals that you're getting, and also it will break down all the different types of amino acids a food contains. When I used the app the first few weeks I was vegan, I noticed that I was running short on the amino acid lysine. All the others were beyond my daily needs, but lysine on some days often fell short. It was actually a very easy fix. I googled which foods are rich in lysine, and it turned out that soy foods and many of the different types of beans and lentils contain good amounts of lysine. So I just included that and it pretty much solved the problem. If I feel like I have a day where I'm working out and I might not be getting lysine, then I just take a supplement. Okay, third question. When you first start the diet, is there a sudden dip in energy or mood or increases in irritability? How do you solve that problem? How long does that last? So for me, I had a huge increase in energy for the first few days. Then I went about a week or two where I did feel a little tired and sluggish, but then again, I'm a high school English teacher, so that just may have been my job, making me tired and sluggish. Overall, after that brief period had passed, I do know that I have much more energy now on a vegan diet than I did before on an omnivore diet. Something else I recognize is that now that I'm vegan, my recovery time at the gym is definitely much shorter. I don't have anywhere near as many aches and pains. And I'm not quite sure if this is a coincidence or not, but I don't get knots. I used to get these really bad knots. Every time I worked out, I stretched, I used to get regular massages. No matter what I did, I would always keep knotting up in certain places. Since I've been vegan, I have not had to book any massages to get those knots out. Is it veganism, or is it just coincidence? Is it veganism, or is it unexplained? Question 4, did I go vegan cold turkey or did I transition over time? I transitioned over a very long time. I'll be very honest, I was vegetarian for many years. There have been meat eating periods in between those times. I tried going vegan back around, I think, 2010, made it for quite a while, but unfortunately it wasn't working for me. I couldn't socialize with a lot of my friends because our lives are around food so much. So it didn't stick at that time. I don't see anything wrong with someone who decides to go vegan and doing it slowly and transitioning. Many vegans say you should just go cold turkey. There's nothing wrong with transitioning. In fact, for many people, I think transitioning might be a better idea. By transitioning, first of all, you can sort of cut out those foods one by one, like maybe cut out meats first, and then gradually cut out the dairy and the eggs and those other things. And then while you're doing that, especially if you're transitioning to vegetarian, you start to learn how to read labels, you start to learn what types of products have hidden meat, and then when you start to become vegan, make it a transition process. Definitely set a deadline, like for example, if you say, I want to be vegan, I'm going to be vegan in 3 weeks, then set that date and follow through with the 3 weeks. Otherwise, something is always going to come up. There's going to be an event, a wedding, a cookout, something to give you an excuse not to follow through with your goal. By giving yourself a transitional period, you also give yourself a chance to make mistakes. It takes quite a bit of self-training to understand what foods are vegan and what foods are not. And mistakes will happen. Even now, sometimes I will buy a food that has always been vegan, but they'll change the formula on me or the ingredients, and all of a sudden, oh, we added milk powder to this. And so, I mean, do you beat yourself up over it? No, you learn from it and you move on. So the biggest benefit of allowing yourself that transitional period is that you give yourself more grace in making mistakes. And for many people, when they make mistakes with something that is dietary, they tend to give up and beat themselves down. This way, it's better to view vegan as a lifestyle that you are transitioning into, and that it is okay to make mistakes because you're going to learn from them. During that transition time, I do recommend that you watch vegan documentaries and find out not just the animal cruelty aspect, but also the health and the environmental reasons why most people become vegan. Ideally, being ethical vegan is the type of vegan that most people stick with. If you're doing it strictly for health reasons, it's great, you're reducing some harm. However, it is my experience that most people who do it strictly for health, it doesn't last forever. If you're doing it because you ethically believe that harming animals is wrong, then you are more likely to follow through with staying in the vegan lifestyle. Just be aware that once you watch some of those animal cruelty videos and you see where your food comes from, you're probably going to want to more quickly give up those carcasses and stop drinking titty juice from other animals. Just saying. Question 5. How do I respond when people ask me what were my reasons for going vegan? I did it mostly for health reasons the first time I did it, which is probably why it didn't stick. It was definitely also for animal cruelty, but I didn't have the knowledge now that I did then of the extent of it. I thought that so when vegan wasn't working for me at the time, I figured, you know what, I will just be vegetarian and that is good enough. However, I did not know the extent of what the dairy industry was doing to animals. I had no idea that the dairy industry was just as horrific for animal suffering as the actual slaughter industry, what do you call it? I think something that made it easier for me is that I never really felt right about eating animals. Even when I was a child, I did not like the fact I cried. I cried when I found out where bacon came from, that chicken was chicken. It's really amazing how when you're really young, you know a chicken is a bird, you know a chicken is a dish, a food, but for some reason you don't think they're the same thing. Yeah, so once I made that connection, I was not happy about it, but I mean, I never even thought to even question it. It's what was on the plate, and you ate what was on your plate. And this feeling extended into adulthood. I could not sit and watch somebody eat something directly off the bone. It completely skeeved me out. I did not want to have any indication or reminder that this meal came from an animal at all. Once I decided to be an ethical vegan, once I decided to do it for the animals, that purpose became far more clear. Another thing to consider is that eating animals is not sustainable. It is very hard on our environment. Our farms are having a hard time keeping up. The factory farm industry exists because of the immense amount of meats that we eat as a society. We do not need to eat animals anymore. Yes, historically, human beings have survived because they ate animals. However, we are now at a point in our evolution that we do not have to get our nutritional needs from animals. We can live a sustainable lifestyle without causing suffering to these poor beings. So overall, I think that is my summarized response. I think this is question 6. What are some main staples in your diet? Inquiring minds want to know. I try to eat a rainbow of fruits and vegetables. I especially like plums, nectarines, apples, bananas, peppers, eggplant, peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter, any type of nut butter I absolutely love. And calm down, you gays in the audience. I know what you're thinking, you dirty minds. Other main staples for me are, this isn't really good, but I eat quite a few mock meats. You know, I told myself that I would allow myself the mock meats like the fake chicken fingers and the fake turkey strips and the fake burgers and stuff like that. I told myself I would use that to transition. However, because even though these foods are highly processed and they're probably not the best foods for you, they do contain pretty high amounts of protein. So when I found myself coming home from the gym, I'm thinking I want to have some extra protein. If it's in the morning, yeah, I would probably have, you know, protein in my smoothie or some sort of, you know, protein boost shake. But for a meal, I would turn to a mock meat. I turn to what I already knew. I'm very soon going to try and transition away from the mock meats. They're not good for me. I should be much thinner as a vegan than I am right now. My diet isn't complete shit. I do get definitely 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables at least a day. However, I would probably be very slender and fit if I did not have all those processed foods. And of course, there is non-dairy ice cream. The So Delicious, the Ben & Jerry's non-dairy, these things I am completely addicted to. Yeah, I definitely need to start cutting back. What offers the essential amino acids that you would otherwise find in meat? Everything. Plants actually have all the different amino acids that you need, and as you eat those plants throughout the day, your body will absorb those amino acids and collect them and assemble them into the full proteins that you need. Having said the popular vegan answer, which says that you will get everything that you need as long as you're meeting your calorie intake for the day, that might be the case for most people. I would argue that if you are someone who is very physically active, or especially if you're working out, that is not going to meet your protein needs. So personally, I add protein powders. I make sure I take my lysine supplement on days that I'm not eating enough beans, tofu, soy, and legumes. And if you're watching this because you're considering becoming vegan, I strongly recommend that you use the Chronometer app. It really gives you a full picture of the types of amino acids you're getting, and it also lets you know whether or not you're meeting all of your macros. So if you're someone who works out, these things are essential to know, especially when you're first adjusting to the diet, so that way you don't feel like you're not recovering, or you don't feel like you don't have enough energy. Do you find yourself getting tired or hungry? On days I lift weights, I am so hungry. The first thing I do is I run home and I start snacking on some peanut butter or cashew butter while I'm creating my smoothie with a protein powder in it. However, that is the solution, is that I just add an extra serving of protein from soy, tofu, some of those mock meats I'm not supposed to be having. What are your tips for eating out? Okay, so this one is a good idea for anyone who may have a vegan or vegetarian friend. I use this app called Happy Cow. I'm sure there are others out there, but Happy Cow hasn't failed me once, so I haven't really felt the need to research any others. But Happy Cow is cool because you just type in your location and it'll tell you all the restaurants that have vegan and vegetarian options. What I also like about Happy Cow is that I get comments from other vegans and vegetarians on the foods at those restaurants. This is very important because sometimes a restaurant will say they have vegan options and it will absolutely suck. So thank you, Happy Cow, because it is good to know that there are restaurants out there that offer more than just French fries or a salad with oil and vinegar. I like this one. It seems more expensive to be vegan. Am I making excuses? Honestly, I think you're making excuses. If you do your research, you'll find that being vegan does not have to be expensive. If a vegan diet is done in a healthful way and you're not eating a great deal of artificial foods, then it will be very affordable. If you're eating whole foods, it can be extremely affordable. A vegan diet can be budgeted just like any other diet. And another difference is that, can you really put a price tag on your health? The typical omnivore diet is not the healthy Mediterranean diet that doctors recommend. Let's face it, most of our diets are absolute crap. We cook when we can, but most of us live in this busy world and we're constantly ordering out, and the things that we do buy to make at home are often highly processed or lots of junk food. Vegan lifestyles might be inequitable if you are a marginalized group. If you're living in a food desert and the best you can do for fresh produce is frozen or worse yet canned, then it's going to be more difficult to sustain, and it probably is going to be more expensive because you don't have as frequent access to those fresh foods. This is my favorite question. What are the top 5 vegan excuses you would debunk? I'm actually not going to answer that right now. I'm going to answer that in a series of videos that I'm going to test on myself to help debunk some of these vegan myths. So stand by on that, and I'll add one in the link as soon as I can. Next question. I would worry I'll feel hungry all the time and that I won't have enough variety of food and get bored. As far as being hungry all the time, I mean, with proper planning, you're not going to be hungry. Something I learned when I entered the vegan lifestyle is that I have had much more of a variety of different types of foods. First of all, I had to go right outside my comfort zone to find different foods outside the normal things that I was used to. Then I got to explore all these different fruits and vegetables I never had before, new restaurants, new recipes. There are new vegan products and new vegan restaurants popping up almost every single day. If it's one thing I am not, it is being bored on a vegan diet. You know, I keep using the phrase vegan diet because I'm looking at it in the terms of the food that you eat, but I do want to make it very clear that being a vegan is more than diet, it is a lifestyle. You're doing it more for just eating purposes. You're doing it because you have a philosophy to cause less harm in this world. So I need to be very conscious and stop using the term diet. So every place that I went and I said diet, please replace the word lifestyle. A vegan lifestyle. So this question comes from one of my students, and the question is, If I want to become vegan, how can I do this if I don't really like fruits and vegetables? You know, I was not raised on fruits and vegetables. Sorry, Mom, I'm gonna out you here. Don't get me wrong, my mother provided us with pretty much a mostly healthy diet. She definitely gave us fortified cereals, multivitamins. We had meat and dairy and all the pasta we wanted covered, which was all very delicious. However, when it came to fruits and vegetables, we never really had a taste for them when we were younger. Oh, and I guess Luna has something to add. Hi, Luna. And what do you think about this question, Luna? What do you have to say? Well, I guess that's that. Most teenagers don't really have a palate for fruits and vegetables, but then again, you know something? Many adults don't either. For most people, when they change their diets, their taste buds change as well. For example, for me, I used to eat fruit. I like fruit. Fruit is sweet, but it was whatever. Like if you were to offer me a cookie or an apple, I'd be like, I'll have the cookie. Like I like the apple, but you know, the apple is just an apple. But then after a few weeks of not having all those sugary foods, I had that same type of apple, and that apple was so different. It was delicious. There were so many other subtle flavors in there that I never detected before. I even find celery is sweet. A little salty and sweet, which I never tasted in celery before. And spinach. Spinach, very strangely, tastes a little nutty. Again, gays out there, knock it off. Next question. My parents won't buy me vegan food. How can I convince them to make me vegan lunches and dinners? So here's the thing. You don't change them. You work with them. Okay. It's wonderful that you are making the decision to become a vegan or a vegetarian at this early stage in life. However, several things I do recommend is, first of all, respect your parents and have a conversation with them about what this means. Most people don't even know what veganism is, or they may know what veganism is, but they might not know the difference between vegan and vegetarian. If you are fortunate enough that your family has enough money to buy you your own separate grocery list of foods, that is great. However, that is not the case for most teenagers. In most cases, your parents are doing the best that they can to make sure there is food on the table. So you really have to respect that you need to work with what they already have. Last question. What is the difference between vegan and plant-based? Well, my response would be vegans are real and plant-based eaters are complete posers. Actually, I'm just kidding. I have nothing against people who use the term plant-based, but realize that vegan is a very coveted term. Okay? Vegans use that term to specifically identify themselves as people who do not eat nor consume any animal products at all. Plant-based seems to have an entire spectrum of different meanings. For some people, plant-based means that they are actually vegan and they just don't like the term. Isn't that right, Luna? Yeah. She's like, why the hell are you talking to yourself? Oh, good girl. Plant-based has a whole spectrum of different meanings. I've seen plant-based used as a synonym for vegan. Sometimes vegans use the term plant-based because they don't want the stigma associated with the term vegan. Some vegans really suck. Plant-based can also mean someone who eats a majority of plants. For example, they may eat 90% of their meals that are entirely plant-based, but every now and then they'll have some fish. I would also be very careful of the term plant-based when reading food labels for those of you who are planning on being vegetarian and especially vegan. All vegan foods are plant-based. However, not all plant-based foods are vegan, if that makes sense. I've seen many labels say plant-based, but then, like for example, I bought a plant-based pizza, and the pizza was entirely vegan, but it used real mozzarella cheese on top. To me, that is not plant-based. I think that is a misrepresentation with the marketing to try to get people to buy it. So be very careful of the term plant-based when you're buying foods in stores. It's become a gimmick to get you to think that a food is healthier than what it actually is. So I'd like to have a frank discussion as to why I'm making this video. Many people have questions about vegans and vegan diets. So consider this a safe space to continually ask questions. I'm not trying to convert you. Would I be pleased if you said, hey, after this video, I think I'm going to try being vegan or vegetarian even for like a month? Fantastic. Anything that leads to less animal suffering is my absolute goal. I mean, look at Veganuary. Many people go vegan for just 1 month out of the year. But how many of those people are starting to adopt more plant-based habits where they're not eating or consuming as much meat and dairy as they were before? They do this because it's done in a fun and safe way. Unfortunately, many vegan organizations are bullies when it comes to the vegan movement. Even though their intentions are good, it's not the best way to get